I moved from Nigeria to the US for college 7 years ago with my older sister's help, and now I feel like I'm trapped in a situation I can't escape. My sister sponsored my education and initially promised to help me adjust to American life, which I was incredibly grateful for at the time. The arrangement was that she would cover my tuition and housing costs, and I would gradually repay her after graduation when I found stable employment. Some background that's probably relevant. I've struggled with social anxiety since I was a kid. I was severely bullied in school back home, and it made me extremely dependent on my sister when I first came to America. Everything was so different here, and she helped me navigate all the systems and institutions that felt overwhelming to me. In our Nigerian culture, there's a huge emphasis on respecting elders and fulfilling family obligations. And my sister is 8 years older than me, so I've always seen her as an authority figure. What started as what I thought was a generous opportunity has turned into something that feels suffocating. My sister now dictates almost every aspect of my life, from my work schedule to who I'm allowed to be friends with. I recently got engaged to my boyfriend of 2 years, and I was terrified to tell my sister. I kept putting it off because I knew she would disapprove, and somehow she found out through mutual friends before I could tell her myself. Yesterday, I was sitting in my car outside her house as I read a series of increasingly demanding texts ordering me to come over immediately to discuss my behavior. I knew exactly what it was about. I approached her front door. The night before, she had called me ungrateful for missing a shift at her boutique to attend a study group. When she opened the door, she gave me a stare. She wordlessly led me to her kitchen table where she had arranged printed Facebook photos of me and my fiancé at the restaurant where he proposed. I didn't even know she had printed them out. 7 years I've supported you, she said, and this is how you repay me? Making major life decisions without my approval? I tried to explain that at 26, I shouldn't need permission to get engaged, but she cut me off and started listing everything she's done for me since bringing me to America. She explained that I haven't finished repaying my debt yet and that marriage would interfere with our arrangement, which basically means me working at her store and helping with her business. I mentioned that I completed my degree over a year ago and have been working both a paying job to repay the loans and putting in about 20 unpaid hours weekly at her store. She just dismissed this as basic family obligation that doesn't count toward my debt. She made it clear that she expects me to continue this arrangement indefinitely. After I left her house, I sat in my apartment and did some calculations. I've already repaid about 40% of my actual tuition costs through direct payments to her. On top of that, I've provided approximately 5,000 hours of unpaid labor at her store over 5 years. If you calculate that at even minimum wage, that's over $36,000 worth of work that she's gotten from me for free. I'm starting to realize that what I initially viewed as sisterly support has transformed into financial control and exploitation. She's using our cultural expectations and financial leverage to manipulate me into doing what she wants. My fiancé has been encouraging me to set boundaries, but it's not that simple. In our culture, going against your elders, especially someone who has supported you financially, is seen as extremely disrespectful. The real kicker is that my sister's control extends beyond just her store. When I first moved here, she helped me find an apartment that turned out to be owned by her friend. So technically, she has influence over my housing situation too. She's made comments before about how unfortunate it would be if I suddenly had to find a new place to live. I don't know if she would actually follow through with getting me evicted, but I can't take that chance right now. I've also discovered that she's been telling our relatives back in Nigeria that I'm being corrupted by America and becoming disrespectful. This hurts because family reputation is everything in our community, and I worry about how this will affect my relationship with other family members. Several aunties have already called to lecture me about respecting my sister and her sacrifices. What makes this all harder is my social anxiety, the thought of confronting her directly. My fiancé doesn't fully understand the cultural dynamics at play. He suggests I simply cut ties, not appreciating how that would affect my standing in our community and potentially with my family back home. Last night, my sister called and said she needs me to sign some papers for the store. Something about a new business opportunity. I'm almost certain she wants me to sign as a co-owner on business documents, potentially making me liable for business debts or taxes. She's hinted at expanding the business together before. I told her I'd think about it, and she got angry again, reminding me of everything she's done for me. I'm torn between my cultural obligation to respect and obey my sister, my love for my fiancé and desire to build a life with him, and my growing recognition that I'm being taken advantage of. I know I need to establish boundaries, but I'm terrified of the fallout. What began as a pathway to education and opportunity has become a prison of control and manipulation. I can't help but wonder if I'm being ungrateful by wanting independence. Am I wrong for prioritizing my relationship with my fiancé? If I refuse to continue the current arrangement, does that make me the villain? With my social anxiety, confronting this situation feels impossible, but I can't continue. Thanks for reading this far. Any advice on how to maintain my cultural respect while establishing healthy boundaries would be really appreciated. Now for the first update. First off, a massive thank you to everyone who responded to my post. Seriously, I've read every single comment at least twice. For those asking if I've talked to my sister yet, yes, and it went about as terribly as you all predicted. It's been 2 weeks since that awful confrontation with my sister about my engagement, and somehow things have managed to get even worse. Didn't think that was possible, but here we are. The day after I posted, I tried to follow the advice many of you suggested about setting firm boundaries without completely burning bridges. I sent her a carefully worded text explaining that while I appreciate everything she's done for me, I'm an adult who needs to make her own life decisions. She responded with a single thumbs down emoji, I'm not even joking, and then radio silence for 3 days. When she finally broke the silence, it wasn't to talk to me directly. Instead, she started calling literally everyone we both know, mutual friends, distant relatives, even people from our church group. She's been telling them all that I'm abandoning my cultural obligations and stealing educational opportunities that should have gone to more deserving relatives, as if she didn't offer to sponsor me in the first place. Several aunties from back home have been blowing up my phone with voice messages about respecting my elders and remembering where I came from. One even suggested I break off my engagement to make things right. I also tried reducing my unpaid hours at her boutique so I could focus more on my actual paying job, the one helping me pay back my debt to her. That backfired spectacularly. She just went ahead and scheduled me anyway, and when I didn't show up, she told all the regular customers that I was unreliable and putting American boyfriends before family obligations. Several customers I was friendly with texted me about this. At least some people see through her manipulation. My fiancé has been incredibly supportive through all of this. Seriously, this man deserves a medal. He's been giving me space when I need to cry, bringing me my favorite comfort foods, and reassuring me that I'm not the villain in this situation. But I can tell he doesn't fully understand the cultural dynamics at play. He keeps suggesting I should just cut ties completely and move on with my life, which sounds great in theory, but would basically mean being ostracized from my entire cultural community. The whole situation reached a new level of crazy yesterday. I came home after work and was organizing some paperwork for a job application when I realized I couldn't find my passport or birth certificate. After tearing apart my entire apartment, literally emptied every drawer and checked under every piece of furniture, I also noticed my original educational credentials were missing too. The only person who had been in my apartment recently was my sister. She had stopped by the day before to drop off some home-cooked food, which I now realize was just an excuse to get inside. I drove straight to her house this morning, trying to practice what I would say. Shout out to the commenter who suggested I role-play difficult conversations beforehand. That actually helped a lot. When I got there, I tried to keep my voice steady as I directly asked about my missing documents. She was just sitting on her couch, flipping through a magazine. I'm keeping them safe until you come to your senses about this engagement, she said without even looking up. You clearly can't make good decisions right now. When I insisted she return them, she finally looked up at me and reminded me that my apartment belongs to her friend. She actually said it would be unfortunate if I suddenly needed to find new housing, not even trying to hide the threat anymore. The worst part came when she walked over to a drawer, pulled out a folder that I could see contained my passport, showed it to me, and then put it right back. Family looks out for family, she said. You seem to have forgotten that since meeting this American boy. I managed to say, "I've never forgotten what you did for me, but I've calculated that I've worked over 5,000 hours in your store without pay. At minimum wage, that's over $36,000 of labor." Many of you pointed this out in the comments, and seeing the actual number written down was eye-opening. She just laughed and said that in our culture, family helps family without expecting payment, and that my American fiancé was teaching me selfishness and ingratitude. I didn't even respond to that. Wasn't worth it. When I tried to get to the drawer with my documents, she physically blocked my path and said she needed me to sign some papers for the store first. Something about a new business opportunity. Then we could discuss my documents. I realized in that moment what many of you had warned about in the comments. She's trying to make me legally liable for her business. I've seen how she runs things. Let's just say she takes a lot of shortcuts with taxes, and I'm not getting involved in that potential nightmare. I left without my documents. I called my fiancé from the car, literally sobbing as I finally admitted to myself just how manipulative and controlling my sister truly is. By the time I got home, I had 3 missed calls from my landlord. When I called back, he said there had been a complaint about unauthorized occupants in my apartment. Completely false. But guess who made the complaint? And that my lease violation might result in eviction. I'm currently sitting in a coffee shop because I can't face going back to my apartment right now. I've been researching my legal rights regarding my immigration documents and the so-called debt to my sister. Several of you mentioned that withholding someone's passport is actually illegal. Thank you for that info. But I'm terrified of involving authorities. In our culture, bringing family conflicts outside the community is seen as the ultimate betrayal. For those wondering, 1, yes, I have digital copies of most of my important documents. 2, no, I don't have any other family members in the US I can turn to. 3, yes, my fiancé has offered to let me stay with him if I get evicted. The coming weeks will be crucial as I figure out how to get my documents back without making the situation even worse. I'll post another update when I have more information or after I consult with the immigration attorney one of you recommended. Now for the second update. Update 2. A lot of you have been messaging me asking for an update on my sister's situation, so here it is in full detail. First, thank you all for your supportive comments and advice on my last post. I read every single one, and it gave me the courage I needed to take some difficult steps. It's been about a month since I last posted, and things have taken some wild turns. For those wondering about the missing documents situation, yes, I ended up filing a police report, but I'll get to that part. After my last post, I realized I needed to get actual proof of what my sister paid for my education, so I contacted my university's financial aid office. She's been lying to me about the costs. The actual tuition was almost 30% less than what she claimed. All those years of her telling me how much I owed her, and she was padding the numbers the whole time. The eviction threat wasn't a bluff either. 3 days after my last post, my landlord called to tell me I had to vacate by the end of the week. Apparently, my sister convinced him I had damaged the property and had unauthorized people living there. I didn't even have time to properly pack, just threw my essentials in garbage bags. My fiancé has been amazing and let me move into his place temporarily, but it's not ideal with his roommate also there. I've been seeing a therapist. She's been helping me recognize all the signs of financial abuse that I've been normalizing for years. The therapist explained how abusers often use cultural values as weapons, which hit me hard because that's exactly what my sister has been doing. The most concerning development came through an elder in our Nigerian community. He pulled me aside after church and warned me that my sister has been telling people I'm involved in her business practices, specifically some of the questionable tax stuff I mentioned before. I was shocked when I realized what she was doing. With the help of an immigration attorney, I learned that what my sister did with my documents is actually a serious offense. The attorney helped me file the police report, which was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I kept thinking about how this would be seen back home. Involving authorities in a family matter is basically unforgivable in our culture. But what choice did I have at this point? After getting all this documentation together, I decided it was time for a final confrontation. I asked my sister to meet me at a coffee shop near her store. I showed up 15 minutes early and rehearsed what I was going to say. My sister arrived 20 minutes late and immediately started with, "You look so American now," in an insulting tone. I didn't take the bait. Instead, I slid over a folder containing all the printouts, the actual tuition statements, visa expenses, and a spreadsheet of all my unpaid work hours at her store. I managed to keep my voice steady when I told her, I've done the math. I've more than repaid what I actually owed you, not what you claimed I owed. I have documentation of everything. She barely glanced at the documents before pushing them aside and saying, that's not how we do things in our culture, and that I'm becoming just like these disrespectful Americans with their contracts and calculations. Then she said our parents would be ashamed of my behavior and that she could easily make problems with my immigration status given her connections at the local USCIS office. That's when I mentioned the police report. You should have seen her face. Complete shock. She demanded to know how I could involve authorities in family business. I slid across the letter from my attorney demanding immediate return of all documents and that she stop making defamatory statements about me. I told her any interference with my immigration status would be reported as retaliation. She stood up and her chair fell backward. People were staring as she loudly declared I was dead to her and the family before storming out. I just sat there for probably 20 minutes afterward, unable to move, alternating between feeling liberated and terrified about what I'd done. That evening, my phone exploded with messages, dozens from extended family and community members, some containing actual threats, most just saying how disappointed they were in me for betraying my sister after all she'd done. The stories she's telling people are completely twisted, that I've been corrupted by America and am abandoning my culture. The only bright spot in all this is my fiancé, who's been my rock through everything. Although even that has a complication now, he thinks we should postpone our wedding until this situation stabilizes. He said it gently, and I know he's right logically. I'm still staying at my fiancé's place while looking for a new apartment. His roommate is trying to be cool about it, but I can tell he's not thrilled about the sudden roommate situation. Last night I overheard him asking my fiancé, how long is this going to be a thing? When they thought I was in the shower. I've been trying to secure copies of my documents through the Nigerian embassy and other legal channels, which is a slow process, but at least it's moving forward. The immigration attorney says it could take weeks, maybe months, to get everything sorted out. In the meantime, I'm basically stuck. Can't apply for certain jobs, can't get a new apartment lease in my name, can't even get a library card at this point. My sister hasn't tried to contact me directly since the coffee shop, but I know she's still talking about me to anyone who will listen. A few days ago, I ran into a family friend at the grocery store who walked the other way when she saw me. 2 other community members have blocked me on social media after previously being supportive of my engagement. Edit, 30 p.m. Just got off a call with another community elder who tried to mediate the situation. He told me I should apologize to my sister for involving the police and that I need to remember my place as the younger sibling. When I tried explaining the financial manipulation and document theft, he said, these American concepts don't apply to family matters. The call ended with him saying he would pray for me to find my way back to our values. I'm sitting in my car as I type this update. The worst part of all this is the questioning. I wake up at 3 a.m. almost every night, wondering if I'm doing the right thing. What if I am being selfish and ungrateful, like everyone says? What if I am betraying my culture by standing up for myself? The therapist says this doubt is normal after years of conditioning, but it doesn't make it any easier to deal with. My fiancé suggested I join some immigrant support groups to find others who've been through similar situations. He found one that meets at the community center next week, but I'm honestly terrified to go. What if people there judge me the same way my community is judging me? The social anxiety that I've struggled with for years is in overdrive right now. Sometimes I can barely leave the apartment without having a panic attack. I'm trying to focus on rebuilding my life, piece by piece, finding housing, securing my documents, healing psychologically, and saving what relationships I can within our community. Some days I feel strong and certain. Other days I wonder if I should just give in and go back to the way things were. Part of me wants to just walk away from this whole sister situation and pretend none of this ever happened. But I know I need to see it through. I've come too far to give up now, and I refuse to let her control my life any longer, even if that means facing difficult consequences within my cultural community. Now for the final update. Final update on the sister situation. It's been a wild ride. First, thank you all for your incredible support through this journey. Your advice literally changed my life path, especially those who said document everything. It's been nearly 3 months since that coffee shop confrontation, and I needed every second of that time to process everything that's happened. The weeks following that confrontation were some of the most isolating of my life. My sister launched a character assassination campaign against me in our community. Every day brought new stories of what she was telling people, that I was stealing from her, planning to report family members to immigration, even that I was possessed by American spirits. My phone would buzz with messages from people I'd known for years, many not even giving me a chance to explain before cutting ties. At one point, I counted 17 people who blocked me on various platforms in a single weekend. Living at my fiancé's place has been complicated. His roommate finally said what we all knew, that this arrangement isn't sustainable. He's been passive-aggressive about everything from bathroom time to refrigerator space. I can't really blame him, though. He didn't sign up to have his buddy's fiancé staying on their couch. About a month after the coffee shop incident, my sister tried something I hadn't anticipated. She called my workplace and spoke to my manager, claiming I had stolen merchandise from her store and that they should be careful with me around their inventory. Thank God I had already explained the situation to my boss when I first filed the police report. To everyone who advised being proactive about this stuff, you were 100% right. My manager actually recorded the call and gave me a copy for my records, saying it sounded like harassment to her. One small victory in the middle of all this. The immigration attorney I hired was worth every penny. I don't have Hello credit card debt, my new companion. She helped me navigate getting replacement documents through the Nigerian embassy. The process was slow, but I finally have copies of everything my sister took. The attorney explained that what my sister did could actually be considered identity theft since she was holding my documents against my will. I decided not to pursue those additional charges, not because she deserves mercy, but because I just wanted to move forward. My therapist suggested something that terrified me initially, bringing everything out in the open at our monthly Nigerian Community Association meeting. But hiding and letting my sister control the narrative clearly wasn't working. After about 2 months of preparation, documentation gathering, and practicing what I'd say, I finally felt ready. My fiancé insisted on coming with me despite not being Nigerian himself. He knew how much this meant to me and how difficult it would be. Walking into that community center, every eye turned to me, some with open hostility, others with curiosity. My sister was already there, sitting in the front row. She clearly didn't think I'd actually go through with addressing everyone, knowing my history with social anxiety. When the association president announced there would be time to address concerning rumors affecting our community, my sister actually smiled. She had no idea I'd arranged this with the president beforehand. Another community elder had helped me set this up. Turns out my sister had damaged her relationship with her too. Standing at the front of that room, I paused and took a breath. My fiancé gave me a nod from the back, and I found my voice. I had practiced this speech many times, but actually delivering it. I laid out everything chronologically. The 7 years of unpaid labor at her store, the confiscated documents, the manipulated tuition costs, the threats against my education and immigration status. I just stated facts with documentation to back each claim. I had copies of bank statements showing my repayments, proof of my work hours, the police report, and my university's records showing the actual tuition costs versus what my sister claimed I owed. When I pulled out the folder with all the evidence, I saw several elders exchange glances. This wasn't just my word against hers anymore. One of the respected aunties in our community, who had been cold to me after hearing my sister's stories, asked to see the university financial records. The room was silent as she examined them. My sister tried to interrupt several times, but the elders firmly reminded her that in our tradition, each person gets to speak uninterrupted. When she finally got her turn, her usual manipulative rhetoric just didn't land the same way. She started with, "My ungrateful sister has been corrupted by American values," but was quickly cut off by an elder asking her to explain the discrepancy in the tuition amounts. She claimed it was additional expenses, but couldn't produce any documentation. Then something unexpected happened. One of our cousins who had recently moved to the U.S. spoke up. She said my sister had also offered to sponsor her education with similar repayment terms. Another community member mentioned that my sister had tried to involve her son in some business paperwork that seemed suspicious. The entire mood of the meeting changed. People were now staring at my sister with suspicion. The association president finally said something I'll never forget. Family obligation is sacred in our culture, but exploitation is not. What I'm hearing today doesn't sound like family helping family. She grabbed her purse and left before the meeting officially ended. Afterward, several community members approached me, some apologizing for believing my sister without hearing my side. 3 different people told me they'd had similar experiences with her trying to exploit them financially. Apparently, I wasn't her first victim, just the one who finally spoke up. In the weeks since the meeting, I've learned that many community members have stopped patronizing my sister's store. No one has officially called it a boycott, but her business has taken a hit. She's been absent from community events, and when she does show up, people are distant. I've finally found my own apartment, signing the lease tomorrow, and am slowly rebuilding my life. My fiancé and I have set a new wedding date for next spring. We're keeping it small, just close friends and supportive family members. Several elders from the community have promised to attend, which means more to me than I can express. My therapist says the road to completely healing from this kind of familial betrayal is long, but I'm making progress. Some days are still hard. Cultural guilt doesn't disappear overnight, but for the first time in years, I'm making decisions without that constant weight of manipulation and obligation. Edit. A few people have asked if I'll ever reconcile with my sister. Honestly, I don't know. Right now, I need distance to heal. Maybe someday we can have a relationship again, but it would have to be completely different, with clear boundaries and actual respect. For now, I'm focusing on building my own life and creating the family I choose with my fiancé. As this chapter of my life closes, I'm learning that standing up for yourself isn't betraying your culture. It's honoring your worth. Thank you all for being there when I needed guidance the most. Your support gave me courage when mine faltered.